Have fun while learning it. If you'll take it seriously, things will get so complicated that you yourself will be overwhelmed by, a situation where you yourself will forget all the vocabularies. Does that happen to you?
50 unbeatable spoken English tips.
50 tips that you make the fluent in English speakers.
Communication skill is all about practice. It's all about different tips that you accomplish, and then slowly you become a fluent speaker. So the first step that we're going to talk about is to set realistic goals.
Yes.
It's not like you should not shoot in the air. Like, that's what I want to achieve. That's what I want to achieve. Set a realistic goal and then accomplish that. Second one, sir.
And the second one is where you can speak in English. Try to speak in English everywhere where you can. Where you grab opportunity to speak in English, you can speak in English. Try to speak.
Exactly. We should opt for that opportunity that comes to our way. It's not like regular that we get that. Is that right?
Yes, of course, right. If you have opportunity to little bit to speak in English, then you should have to speak in English.
Yeah.
This is the most important tips.
That makes sense. See, spoken English and any communication skill requires 4 things: reading, writing, listening, thinking. Again, I'm saying it. Reading, writing, listening, and thinking. If you surround yourself into English, if you surround yourself in such environment where English is being spoken, English is being heard, English is being taught, English is being spoken, then it'll be easy for you to achieve this potential easily.
Of course, very. Of course, you should have to create an English environment to listening English podcast and listening English music, to listening English movies like with the subtitles along with the English web series. You know that in these videos you will make the English fluent, and the more.
Sometimes what happens is that we take things so seriously that we forget ourselves as well. See, in certain circumstances where you feel English can be normalized, normalize it. Don't take it too serious. Don't think it as really, hype or something like that. If you'll do so, you'll get confused. Things will get complicated to you. Take it as a fun learning journey, like a roller coaster. Enjoy this as much as possible, so that at the time when you'll have opportunity to speak, at that point of time as well, you will enjoy, you will laugh, you will smile.
And very, of course, I agree with your tips. And the very most important things, you should have to try thinking in English. So when you try to speak in English, then you should have to think in English. If you do this, then the less chance to stuck in the conversations.
Exactly.
Always.
It happens. The more you surround yourself into the environment where English is commonly being spoken, your subconscious mind will save it for future reference. The vocabularies, the words, the sentences, the frameworks, the tenses, and all these things will accumulate in your mind. And at the time when you speak, it will come naturally to you.
And the biggest mistake is all the beginners is do that. Try to copy first. Very first, he is try to copying in Hindi. After then, he is doing the English. Means don't try to think in Hindi. Then try translate it into English. If you do that, then a lot of confusion create in your mind.
Exactly. In this process, translation takes place. Now, if you'll indulge yourself into translation, you will not have sufficient time to, grab that thought, wrap it in the cover of English, and then narrate it to your viewers. It gets so complicated that it takes more than 5 seconds for you to think in Hindi, translate it to English, and then speak in English. So, rather than translating, start thinking in English directly. It makes sense.
The next one is mimic the native speakers. Always try to pay attention toward the native speaker. When they speak, then you should have to pay attention toward their rhythm and the innovations.
Along with intonation, we should also look at real life situations. Wherever we get opportunity to speak, we should not neglect it. We should never underestimate just a power of consistent effort that you put on daily basis. For example, the effort that you're seeing in this video, I got this opportunity to speak, and then we are doing it. So whenever you grab opportunity to speak in real life stimulated conversations, you should always grab it.
Of course, you should have to always make the opportunity to speak in English in every situations. Public speakings. This is the most valuable tips you should have to become a fluent. You should have to speak in a public place where you found to a lot of crowd. Then you should have to try to speak in along with examples. When you do that, then your confidence level is increased approximately. So then confidence level is approximately 1 to 10% is approx. So next one is.
Other than this, you should also surround English all around you. If you're listening to a song, listen to it in English. If you're listening to a podcast, prefer it in English. If you're listening to any person, listen to it in English. If you're thinking of anything, think in English. If you're watching a movie, watch in English. If you're watching news, read in English. If you're going through a newspaper, purchase Times of India or like the Hindu or any English magazine. If you to talk to someone, speak in English. Means at all aspects of your life, English should be surrounded to you. It'll be beneficial for in future.
And always be a good listener. So means when you listen to anything in English, you should have to pay attention to what their words and
Their intonations,
intonation,
their
and
accent, their pronunciation,
and the rhythm also.
rhythm as well.
Also.
Other than this, you should always have fun while learning it. See, if you'll take it seriously, serious things don't take place. Have fun while learning it. If you'll take it seriously, things will get so complicated that you yourself will be overwhelmed by a situation where you yourself will forget all the vocabularies. Does that happen to you? It only happens because you take things so seriously that at the time of conversation you find yourself being so complicated, being so hodgepodge in your mind that you can't be able to narrate a word.
You should have along with you should have to also expand your vocabulary.
Exactly.
Means you have to a strong vocabulary, means you have to a good conversation, and try to apply in your conversation. When you grab the opportunity to try your sentences in apply in your conversation, then you should have to do that.
Wherever you get opportunity, just get your conversation out of your brain. Got it? Since if you've learned so much of vocabulary, why have you learned it? So we should spend time in English learning environment. Right? Where English is being spoken, English is being heard, English is being read, English is being taught. So in this circumstance, this will help you. It will nourish you. It will flourish you.
Okay. And along with the strong knowledge in grammars in some portions, that makes you feel interest. You should have to read that some grammar topics, important topics like verb and prepositions and the parts of a speech. All these topics you should have to cover it, and you should have to apply in your conversations when you grab opportunities.
Spoken English contains not complete grammar structures, but just 5 to 6 grammar portions that you should understand. See, you should learn active and passive voice. You should learn modal verbs. You should learn some of the most used vocabularies. You should learn tenses, and then you should learn any indirect and direct voice. Other than these 5 topics, I bet not a single topic will arrive in your conversation. You don't use any of the grammatical structure that is when you conversate to people. So rather than learning complete syllabus of English grammar, you should focus on these 5 core skills and these 5 core topics of grammar. And you should also, whenever you grab opportunities, stimulate English conversations, real life conversations as much as possible. You can download applications like Wacky, you can download applications like HelloTalk, and there are several applications that lets you talk to people around you in order to have conversation. Is that right?
Absolutely. This is the very important tips.
Exactly. And we should also be motivated while speaking. We should have confidence while speaking. Is that, do you think? It makes sense?
It makes sense. And also make sure your eye contact is
at the time of conversation, you should be upon complete eye contact with the person you're speaking. It should look like complete authentic, authoritative and dominator person when you're conversating.